That was all anyone could have said about her at first glance, just another passenger wedged against the window of a crowded commercial flight bound for Washington. A quiet young woman, mid-20s maybe, with a duffel bag that had seen better days and a jacket 2 sizes too big, the kind you pick up at a surplus store when you care more about warmth than style. She didn't stand out. She didn't seem to want to. The businessman in 12E noticed her first, in that casual, dismissive way travelers notice strangers. He was irritated she'd claimed the armrest, irritated she hadn't smiled back when he gave her that little nod before takeoff, irritated she was staring out the window like she'd been born to live in silence. The flight attendants noticed her, too, though differently. There was something in her eyes when she thanked them for water, something that said she meant it. The kind of thank you that makes you pause. But still, she was just another passenger. Seat 12F. Until cruising altitude, when turbulence began to toss the aircraft. The overhead bins rattled. A baby cried somewhere near row 18. The businessman muttered under his breath, clutching his briefcase tighter as if it might shield him from physics. But the young woman in 12F? She closed her eyes, exhaled slowly, and placed her hand flat on the plastic armrest. Not gripping it. Not clinging. Just steadying. As if she knew turbulence by name, had met it before, and no longer found it threatening. She might have remained anonymous for the entire flight, just another face among 200, if not for what happened when the captain's voice broke in over the intercom, unusually sharp. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We're being asked to hold our altitude. We have restricted airspace ahead. Please remain seated." Most passengers barely registered it. Another delay, another inconvenience. But the young woman in 12F opened her eyes and whispered something so faint the businessman almost didn't hear. "Raptor 21. He frowned. "What?" She blinked, realizing she'd spoken aloud. "Nothing," she said quickly, turning back to the window. But her pulse was visible at her neck, fast and urgent. The businessman chuckled, shaking his head. "You military types always muttering codes. My nephew does ROTC. Thinks he's maverick." She didn't answer. Outside, the sky shifted. Shadows streaked across the clouds. Passengers gasped as 2 fighter jets appeared, sleek gray Predators sliding alongside the commercial airliner. F-22 Raptors. Their wings tipped as if in silent salute, or warning. Phones came out. Pictures snapped. A buzz of nervous laughter rippled through the cabin. "Guess we're important now," someone joked. "Like Air Force One." But the woman in 12F went pale. Her hand gripped her knee, pressing hard enough to whiten her knuckles. She wasn't afraid of the jets. She was afraid of being recognized. The businessman noticed. "You know something?" Her lips parted. A storm moved behind her eyes. She hesitated, torn between silence and truth. Finally, she whispered, "I know those call signs. That formation. That's the Iron Talon Squadron." "And how the hell would you know that?" She didn't answer. Then came the captain's voice again, tighter this time. "Ladies and gentlemen, please stay calm. We've been asked to verify passenger manifests with Air Defense Command. Everything is under control." Everything was not under control. The jet slid closer, engines screaming against the thin blue. Then, over the intercom, a voice none of the passengers expected to hear, a voice not from their captain, but from the fighter escort itself. A voice carried across the cabin, patched through the radios, amplified into the airliner. "Flight 237, stand by. We have confirmation." The voice paused, cracked slightly, "Is Echo 12 on board?" The businessman looked at the woman beside him. She had closed her eyes again, but not to rest. To brace. Every fighter pilot in the Air Force knew that call sign. The businessman whispered hoarsely, "That's you?" Her jaw clenched. Was me. And in the cockpit of each F-22 outside, two of the most elite aviators on Earth straightened in their harnesses, suddenly very small in the presence of a legend they'd never expected to see in coach class, hair tied back, wearing an old jacket like any other weary traveler. "Holy hell," one pilot muttered to the other. Echo, 12. "I thought she was gone," the other finished. Everyone thought she was gone. Inside the cabin, word spread like lightning. Row by row, whispers turned to stares. The girl in 12F, the quiet one, the one who hadn't even claimed both armrests, her? A flight attendant crouched beside her seat, trembling. "Ma'am, should I call the cockpit?" The woman's eyes softened. She shook her head. "Tell them I'm not here." But it was too late. The F-22 pilot's voice came again, firmer now, "Reverend, Echo, 12, if you can hear me, we stand at attention. The sky remembers you." The cabin erupted. The businessman's mouth fell open. A college kid in 14A gasped, "Wait, that's Echo, 12? The one who?" The story unraveled faster than the woman in 12F could contain it. Echo, 12. The call sign spoken in every fighter wing's dormitory. The one who, 3 years earlier, had guided a crippled bomber out of enemy fire, staying on radio comms long after her own jet had taken lethal damage. The one who refused to eject until every last crew had cleared the kill zone. The one whose voice had steadied pilots on their first combat run, whose last transmission, "I've got you, keep going," had been carved into stone at the academy. Officially, Echo, 12 had never returned. Mia. Presumed dead. A name etched on a wall, saluted in silence at every graduation. And here she was. In seat 12F. She finally opened her eyes and faced the stunned passengers. There was no pride in her gaze, no smugness. Only a tired acceptance, like a secret too heavy to carry had finally been dropped. "I didn't want this," she said quietly. "I just wanted to go home." No one spoke. The baby in row 18 had even stopped crying, as if the very air had hushed to listen. The businessman swallowed hard. "But you saved." "I didn't save enough," she interrupted, voice breaking. "I saved some. But not all. And when the fire came through the cockpit, I thought I wouldn't." She shook her head. "They told the world I was gone. Easier that way. Cleaner. I let them believe it. Until now." The F-22s remained outside, holding formation. Protecting. Honoring. Inside, something shifted in every passenger. They weren't just on a flight anymore. They were sitting beside history, beside sacrifice, beside someone who had given everything and walked away with nothing but scars too deep to see. The businessman, who had spent half the flight irritated by her silence, now found tears in his eyes. He whispered, almost childlike, "Thank you." Others echoed it. A murmur first, then stronger. A chorus of gratitude, raw and unpolished, filling the cabin. She pressed her forehead to the window, hiding the tears that finally came. The intercom clicked once more, softer this time. The F-22 pilot's voice carried through, steady but reverent. "Echo, 12, ma'am, permission to escort you home?" She couldn't answer for a long time. Her hand trembled against the glass. Finally, she whispered, "Permission granted." The Raptors tilted their wings in unison, falling into perfect guard beside the airliner. A salute not in words but in steel and sky. Seat 12F closed her eyes again, but this time not from weariness, not from hiding. This time it was to let the weight of it lift, to finally allow herself to believe that maybe she wasn't just a ghost. That maybe she had come home after all. And for the rest of the flight, no one saw just a quiet young woman in an old jacket. They saw Echo 12, the legend who had been gone, but never lost. When the plane touched down, every passenger stood before the seatbelt sign had dimmed, not to grab their luggage, but to turn toward her. Some with tears, some with shaky salutes, some with nothing more than reverence in their eyes. For once, she didn't tell them to look away. Because sometimes the sky does remember. And sometimes heroes come home, not with fanfare, not with medals, but in seat 12F, on an ordinary flight, in the most ordinary way.